Movies based off of video games historically have always sucked. While there may be a few exceptions to the rule, usually video game movies walk the line between being box office bombs or a critic's worst nightmare. While there's a whole lot that could be unboxed about why these cinematic adaptations tend to flounder, today we're looking at the future in a more positive light, and listing off the top 10 video games that need to be turned into movies. Obviously, hoping that these movies avoid failing into that whole sucking pattern. Don't have hope for Sonic, friends. Jim Carrey can't save everything. Starting us off at number 10, Uncharted. Recently, a fan-made Uncharted film hit the interwebs and became a viral hit. Now we say fan lightly, because the person who made it and played Nathan Drake was none other than Nathan Fillion. He's been a dream casting choice for many fans of Uncharted for a long time now, so it was pretty darn neat to see that come alive. Now while there has been talk for over a decade about an official Uncharted film, it was announced last year that director Sean Levy was attached to the project, and Tom Holland is reportedly being attached to play Drake. But things still seem like they're moving a little bit slow, despite Levy's promise recently that the script is in good form and scheduling and additional casting are the next steps. Who knows, maybe we'll see it come out in the next few years. Up next, number 9, Outlast. Both Outlast and Outlast 2 would make horrifically scary movies, specifically the second, which has a significantly larger amount of character development than the first. Regardless of which title you prefer more though, both Outlast games exist in settings that are the stuff of nightmare fuel, and have enough twists and turns to keep moviegoers preoccupied with what unpredictable horror may show up next. Hey, it'd even make a good candidate for a POV movie, although those tend to not have the best response from critics either. Up next, number 8, Pokemon. Okay, sure, there's a bunch of Pokemon animated films that have been produced over the years, often with a lot of success. But for over a decade now, fans of the series have always wanted to see, or dreaded the idea of, a live-action feature film. And it makes sense why there are so many opposing opinions on this. It could be utterly disastrous. CG could go wrong in so many ways, and it would be really difficult to avoid the campier cringe territory, given the lighthearted nature that the Pokemon series has always boasted. But I think the most important question is how they would approach making the Pokemon. Go for animated versions or kind of horrific monster looking versions. That could also be really cool. Who knows? A lot of potential there. Alright, next up at number 7, The Legend of Zelda. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here with this suggestion too, especially since Link is historically a protagonist with not much personality. Rather, he's a protagonist that players can easily project themselves onto, and it's clearly effective. The franchise is one of Nintendo's most beloved across the globe, and its titles continue to impress with how rich their worlds are. There's also a few games that would make fantastic candidates for film, particularly Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, although the latter would be one hell of a heavy film to watch, but could be really well done. And at number 6, God of War. God of War's most recent installment shook up the series, in a very positive way. Now focusing more on Kratos' development as a character and his relationship with new character, his young son Atreus, the game explored new territory that the God of War franchise has never ventured into before. Many critics feel like it's the best title of 2018 to date. That only further fuels the fire as to why a God of War series or film should be made. It's no longer just about hacking and slashing and getting revenge. It's about so much more. And if that isn't convincing enough, the world of God of War has always been entertaining and immersive, rich in the Greek mythology it was based off of, and now the Norse mythology that it's expanded into, meaning there's a whole lot to work with. And at number 5, The Last of Us. The Last of Us deserves a spot on this list, but at the same time, it really doesn't. The storytelling in Naughty Dog's Titanic-size hit is already so beautifully done that it would almost feel criminal trying to adapt Joel and Ellie's story to the big or small screen without losing something. The Last of Us is very much an example of video games as a form of artistic storytelling. That being said, if done correctly, a cinematic adaptation could be something equally as brilliant. The game is already filled with fantastic characters, a whole lot of conflict, and moments that are basically emotional roller coaster rides. The giraffes. A talented filmmaker could bring it to life with ease, but a studio looking to make some serious bank off of it could possibly do more damage than it's worth. And at number 4, The Witcher. That would be brilliant, right? Well, it's already happening thanks to Netflix. While not much information has been released about The Witcher cinematic adaptation yet, we do know a handful of things. It was initially supposed to be a feature film, but because of how robust the stories are, the producers behind it felt that it would better fit as a TV series. We know the synopsis is, The Witcher, Geralt, a mutated monster hunter, struggles to find his place in a world where people often prove more wicked than beasts. We know that Lauren S. Hissrich, who has written for Daredevil, The Defenders, and The West Wing, is writing the pilot, and will be acting as the showrunner. She also recently tweeted this out. I think the only 2 things I've ever confirmed are, 1. Geralt will be a man, 2. The show won't be watered down. Now there's also a Witcher film that currently exists, made back in 2001 in Poland called The Hexer, but it's fairly unknown and looks like it could potentially be pretty cringe. And at number 3, LA Noire. Rockstar's LA Noire was pretty groundbreaking when it first came out. Looking back at it now, you can easily see its flaws, but it still gets a big thumbs up for effort. It's a game that if it were to be released nowadays, would be absolutely mind-blowing with what developers are capable of doing thanks to current technology. That being said, one of the reasons why LA Noire is such a beloved game is because of how fascinating the story is, and the way that it integrated real-life crimes into its narrative. You play as Cole Phelps, a decorated veteran after World War II, who returns to the US and becomes a patrol officer in the LAPD. He eventually is promoted to a detective, and you work your way through the various crime units in the LAPD until Cole begins to unravel a scandal, and thus is manipulated into being demoted and becoming a bit of a disgraced detective. The plot only thickens from there, with the story having the potential to contain enough subtleties that would read much better in a live-action adaptation. And at number 2, Mass Effect. Mass Effect has all of the makings of a science fiction trilogy epic. The first 3 games follow the story of a soldier named Commander Shepard, who you can choose to play as either male or female. Shep's mission is to save the galaxy from a race called the Reapers, who are powerful mechanical beings who tens of thousands of years earlier exterminated all sentient life in the galaxy as part of their reoccurring cycle of genocide. So yeah, definitely has the right stuff there. While some people believe that it would work well as a trilogy of 3 feature films, other people see it better as a series. Plus, while Mass Effect Andromeda may have gotten some mixed reviews, it does open up a whole lot of potential for story continuation within that same universe. Spin-offs! And finally, in at number 1, Kentucky Route Zero. Kentucky Route Zero is the stuff of Oscar bait. You play as a truck driver named Conway in this stunning point-and-click game. He's on his last delivery before the shop he works for is officially out of business. The game has been described as the Southern Gothic ghost story with some David Lynch magical realism. Praised for its writing, diverse cast of characters, and mysterious tone, the game has 5 acts in which you make your way down a secret highway called the Zero, in the caves beneath Kentucky. It all starts with Conway asking for directions at a place called Equus Oils, and unravels from there. Critics have called it powerfully evocative and a beautiful subversion of the point-and-click game, and quite frankly, the story, well, it'll make a really good movie, or TV show. Alright, there we have it friends, which of these games on our list do you think would make a stellar film? And what other games do you think we should have included? And why? Give us a shout in those comments below and be sure to let us know. If you dug this video, show some love and hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to Top 10 Gaming before you go. We also have a bunch of other lists, news, theories, and a few Let's Play videos just waiting for you to give them a look. In the meantime though, thanks for watching everybody. I'll catch you all in the next video.